Hello, I'm Mary Elizabeth Davis, Superintendent for the Cherokee County School District, and welcome to January's edition of The Lift. This is the space that's been created where I have the opportunity to lift up the work of the Board of Education here in the Cherokee County School District. I'm really eager to lift up for you the work of the board meeting that occurred this January, and also to share with you some milestone moments that accompanied this month's meeting. We kicked off the new year with our newly elected and sworn in chair for the Cherokee County Board of Education, Janet Reed Welch, presiding over the meeting. We also celebrated the re-election and swearing in of two board members, District 1 Kelly Poole and District 2 Patsy Jordan, with Ms. Jordan being re-elected by her peers to continue as vice chair of this year's Board of Education. Now, the work of the Board of Education in this month's meeting was really centered around three key things. The first is a focus on our cohesive system of teaching and learning and driving the clarity of what happens in our classrooms from school to school. The second is a focus on instructional materials and building an adequate toolbox of resources for our teachers, also accompanying that with an exemplary resource toolkit for our students. And the third was an outlook for our FY26 budget.
Good evening. I would like to call the work session for January 16th, 2025 to order, please.
Let's start with our cohesive system of teaching and learning. Now, this work is called for in the board's policy BAB that they adopted in December. And this cohesive system of teaching and learning is really designed to streamline and create clarity around what is going to matter most in our classrooms. It starts with clarity about our standards. What do teachers teach and what do students learn? And how do we make sure that parents have access to knowing those standards and our teachers have all of the tools necessary to really understanding the depth at which those standards should be taught? The second part of the cohesive system of teaching and learning is instructional materials. Because once we have clarity around what our teachers teach and what our students will learn, there is a commitment from the Board of Education that there be a comprehensive set of instructional tools at the fingertips of every one of our teachers, and a comprehensive set of resources that our students have access to, learning both in the classroom and continuing that learning at home. And the cohesive system of teaching and learning is then rounded out with our approach to monitoring that students are learning and really reducing the amount of time that our teachers spend compiling data, but instead building tools that would aid them in more efficiently reviewing student learning and making decisions in their instruction to adjust that learning when students don't learn or they have shown mastery and they need to extend. Now, the work around a cohesive system in teaching and learning is really coupled with the second topic that was focal point in this January board meeting, and that was around instructional materials. Now, this focus on instructional materials has really been a common theme for our Board of Education and is really anchored in key priority number 1 to elevate the excellence in academics and achievement for all students. It's a combination of many focus groups and sentiments that have been offered from teachers and students and parents alike, coupled with an external evaluation of our entire environment of instructional materials. And the results of that external evaluation were shared at this board meeting by Ken Owen, our Chief Financial Officer. I want to identify some of the findings of that external evaluation because first and foremost, it found that while we have an abundance of resources, the alignment of our resources is really inadequate. What that means is that our teachers are spending copious amounts of time pulling from fragmented sets of resources across the organization in order to construct and develop the lesson plans that they will use with students each and every day. We can do better than that. And the findings actually direct some recommendations, including the acquisition of a core resource, which would be tightly aligned to the standards of a course or a grade level, and be more comprehensive in nature for our teachers. That would serve as an adequate floor for every teacher to stand on in order to begin the building and crafting of their instructional plans for students. The findings of this external evaluation also illuminated that our resources are digital heavy and print light. And what that really means is that our resources very heavily rely on digital formats. And really, it's lost a balance in the print resources and the textbooks and book materials that we put in students' hands. And that needs to be corrected. Our board has expressed a commitment to better balancing and sort of recalibrating that distinction, because the ability for students to navigate between print and writing materials and a digital tool and digital resources is a skill that is necessary not only for learning in the classroom today, but for later in life. The findings also revealed that we could improve several of our financial practices in order to ensure that we have the most efficient approach to the acquisition and distribution of resources, some recommendations that we plan to implement immediately. Now, in total, this instructional resources audit was really designed to have a crystal clear understanding of where we are today. But it doesn't stop there, because the board went ahead and updated their instructional materials acquisition policy in order to get better clarity around how we define instructional materials, make a commitment to better balance print and digital resources, and design a process in order to select those resources that relies very deeply on the perspectives, insights, and recommendations of teachers, families, and community members. Now, the instructional materials work is really at the beginning, but what you can expect to see next is that we will seek to acquire core resources in ELA in time for the next school year. The process for our path forward begins this spring, and we'll provide periodic updates as we pave this path towards our teachers having a comprehensive set of tools and resources to teach, and we better balance the resources that are in kids' hands to learn. Now, while the lift is designed to be your short, quick recap of the business of the Board of Education each month and to show that alignment from boardroom to classroom, there are some topics that are just so meaningful and central to the work of the Board of Education and its impact so broad across the organization that I want to spend a few extra minutes on the topic. This happens to be one of them, and at this time I want you to listen in to our board members.
We are now going to involve the teachers, who are basically the end users of whatever instructional material we're buying, to have more say in the purchasing or of what we are purchasing, the whole process, because in order for our kids to be successful, our teachers need to be successful, and with them involved in the process, they're going to make sure that the best material out there is going to be available for their use and the students' use. So I do appreciate this turnaround, because my understanding is in the past, items were typically purchased from the top and were pushed down, and I like this now that it's coming from, so to speak, the bottom up, which our bottom to me are the top. Thank you.
So I've been kind of waiting with bated breath for this, because I feel like this is critical. Basics of education. Teachers should have core materials in their classroom, period. Teachers have so many responsibilities. This is a basic one, a basic need in a classroom, to have a core, consistent resources and curriculum. Besides the educational impact of having a combined system of curriculum with using digital and print format, not only is that educationally sound, but again, it does address issues for handling the home situation. Not every child is going to have access to digital materials. They need to be able to have a book in their hand to reinforce what they've been doing in school.
So you're talking about the procurement team will begin to look at everything, and the teachers will begin to select materials. And so, and that's the way it was during the process when I was teaching. I understand exactly what's going on there. But there's also training involved once you make that selection. And so, and before you put those materials in those teachers' hands, you've got to do the training. So what I'm asking is pretty point blank. Will they be trained, and will everything be in their hands on the first of school, the first day of school? Will we be given updates each month on how that's going?
Absolutely, really, our eyes are on August 1st, right, and getting ready for next school year for students, families, and our professionals. Right. So we'll be each month providing briefings on all of the different ways, but this being central to the things we're doing to get ready for the new school year.
I just wanted to say I was able to be a small part of this process in the fall, along with lots of the cabinet folks and other folks on the staff, and former board chair Kyla Cromer, who is a teacher as well. So it was just nice to see so many different opinions, come together, and everyone agreed that this is what we need to do. So thank you to all that worked on that. You're doing the heavy lifting on that, but I'm excited to see where this takes us.
Just let teachers and parents and people that are out there paying attention that what you guys are what you're doing, and it's a good thing in the books, and we're trying to get resources to the teachers so they can handle all the issues that we have right now and get that rectified, and I just thought it was a great thing you guys are doing, and I thought at least they could see that and understand and kind of keep track of what we're doing and move forward.
The last thing is a focus on FY26 and the preparation for our annual budget. As we've been reporting, our annual budget timetable has shifted, and our objective is to adopt our final budget in April, reviewing the tentative budget recommendation in March, which really leaves us here in January and February to provide a deep analysis of our budget outlook. In January, we start to get a better sense of our state revenue outlook, as well as get clearer picture of our local revenue projections. Our Chief Financial Officer was able to provide details regarding those projections and how that is going to be coupled with anticipating the expenditures that will be required to continue operating excellent schools here in Cherokee County. This will be the first fiscal year that we build our budget with an understanding of the expansion of our senior tax exemption. That expansion of the senior tax exemption results in $14 million less in revenue from local sources here in Cherokee County. And we've anticipated that, and we've been prepared to bring a balanced budget to the board as a reflection of that decrease in revenue. But some additional complications to our revenue picture emerged with the approval of constitutional amendment to apply a floating homestead exemption. Boards of education across the state of Georgia are now positioned to really create their path forward. And one option is to apply that floating homestead exemption. And here in Cherokee County Schools, that would result in $50 million less revenue over the next 3 years. That obviously has serious implications on the caliber and quality of the programs and the quality and caliber of the resources and really the quality of our schools over time. So the other option is for boards of education across Georgia to consider opting out of applying that floating homestead exemption. Now here in Cherokee County School District, we will have the 3 required hearings in February and take that matter as an action item in our February board meeting. But as we prepare for our budget with that variable in mind, we are really focused on ensuring that our general fund is more efficiently used than it ever has been before. We're doing that by really aligning funding sources with the expenditures and really evaluating where there are redundancies and where we can decrease. The second focus is employment stability across all job families as we prepare for the next school year, knowing that our workforce is why we have such exceptional schools. And the third is a real commitment to ensuring that the funds are as close to students and the classroom as possible. The district divisions have already been applied a 3% decrease in expenditures for next year. And on top of that 3% decrease, there is a reallocation of funds from centralized budgets to our local school budgets with a focus on our consumable heavy content areas, including fine arts and science. So those are some of the preliminary indicators and really core values that are being applied to the development of this FY26 budget. As we head into February, our revenue picture will crystallize even further, and we'll have a better understanding of some implications of the governor's budget at that time as well. We've introduced a new section of our district website that will really provide you access to all of the board reports, videos of the actual board reports, and any accompanying materials associated with the development of FY26. I'd invite you to visit that website in order to stay informed of how we prepare for our next school year. As I wrap up this episode of The Lift, I want to recognize the more than 10-year service of board member John Harmon from District 3. Mr. Harmon announced his intent to resign from his board seat due to his family moving out of the area, and as a result, his board seat has now become vacant. The board has taken the time to recognize, acknowledge, and celebrate his years of service. But they also moved to accept his resignation in a unanimous action and outlined a timeline for filling his seat. That timeline begins with an application being made available on January 17th. That application will close on January 31st, and the board will move to make an appointment for the vacant District 3 seat at the February 13th board meeting. You know, a high-performing school district starts with a high-performing Board of Education. And considering serving as a member of the Board of Education is the most noble of public service opportunities. Students and young people here in the Cherokee County community are counting on excellence in every one of our schools. And that starts with excellence in our boardroom. So that wraps up our January 2025 edition of The Lift. I'll see you next time.